Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Seconds. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Good evening, Cavs fans, and welcome to another installment of the Block the Shot to Stop, a Cleveland Cavaliers post-game podcast. My name is Tim Daniel. His name is Kevin Lynch. And Kevin, even though we're talking about a meaningless game tonight for the second night in a row, why are these games still so much fun? Why are they still making us like super entertained? What a great, fun team to watch.
It's an easy one because they care. There's a lot of NBA teams that would not care about these games. Totally understandable that they kind of took turns resting some guys. Mitchell both nights because he has a sprained ankle. But they cared. Like the guys who played incredibly hard. The guys who were out were on the bench, like really, rooting on these guys are really into the game despite not playing. So, I mean, that it's as simple as that because they cared so much, because they put in so much effort. It made it really fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were just tuning in and did miss the game, spoiler alert, the Cavaliers win 108-102. It was a fantastic win, as our good friend Sydney says here on the chat. And it was a game that the rare moment where they got cavalanched to start the game. The Knicks have a 15-point advantage outside the first. The second quarter, the Cavs kind of make it a little closer. Third quarter, the Cavs are like pretty good defensively to get back in the game. And the fourth quarter, Darius Garland just takes over. So I will go through this, Kevin, and, I like to be honest with our listeners. I had other obligations tonight, so I only caught the fourth quarter. So I am relying a lot on you tonight, and I appreciate that because I was busy with my other endeavors. But I'm still excited to talk about tonight's game. And I guess, is there any other place to start other than Darius Garland, or should we lead to Darius Garland? Should we end the show at Darius Garland?
No, let's get right to it, man, because we've had to unfortunately talk about some, below his level performances by Darius the last couple months. And like I said, he really came out of his funk a couple games ago when he was really, really good earlier this week. And then tonight was absolutely awesome. Tonight was the return of like clutch Darius Garland. We hadn't seen him much for a while, but tonight in the fourth quarter, 13 points, a rebound, 2 assists, 6 for 6 from the field. He accounted for 18 of their 30 points in the fourth quarter. Just absolutely. When he came back, he came back in the game with about 9 minutes left and immediately took over. They were down about 8 or 9 when he came back in, and then he hit like 3-4 shots in a row, had an assist. And before all of a sudden, I was watching the game again with the guys on playback, The Land. We had a really good time.
Shout out those guys.
Yeah, no, really, really fun night. They actually let me come on what they call the stage. So I feel like I've already done a show tonight talking with them while the game was live instead of post game. But yeah, we were just kind of chit-chatting, almost like, how commentators have to fill the air when the game's not super close. That's how it felt in the third quarter. And then all of a sudden they make a run and they're like, creeping back in, and all of a sudden they take the lead after the Darius Garland flurry there. And he was spectacular. And he was spectacular on the surface. These games don't matter at all. The seeding's wrapped up, all those things. But I do think there is real value in going into the playoffs, playing fairly well, feeling like you have a good rhythm, and just with a little bit of confidence and swagger coming back after they've gone through, frankly, their roughest period of the season. Like, I actually think even in the loss last night and then in the win tonight, these were pretty, important games, or at least like they could be impactful games for the Cavs.
I 1,000% agree. So I think Skylar and I kind of had a roundabout conversation last night after the Pacers game about the rest versus rust debate, and I thought for sure the Cavs would be a rest team considering how they've used their minutes all year, and to an extent they have. So I don't want to go too far out there. I mean, especially tonight. But like you said to start the show, it's a lot of those guys rested, and the guys who went out there and played like really put their heart into it still. And I agree. And like you said, I mean, not only is the Cavs fate set, obviously New York's fate got set tonight because the Pacers are officially the 4 seed, so the Knicks are officially the 3 seed. And to have this game like that where Garland has that fourth quarter. So my buddies and I on my old regimes of podcasts, of NBA podcasts, we used to have this term called the Garden Guys. And it was, if this guy's playing a Madison Square Garden without you knowing anything, are you tuning in to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Darius has entered the Garden Guy conversation this year, because if you remember the first week of the season, they had the game, they were down like 12 or 13 to the Knicks, and he goes nuts. And in the game, and then tonight, again, by the way, 16th team this year, the Cavaliers swept. So, for the sleep trackers out there like me, here's what I really love the most about Darius Garland tonight. And you and I have talked a lot about this throughout the year, throughout the time when he wasn't playing very well. Didn't settle. Wasn't like, all right, I'm just going to shoot threes tonight. Shot 5 of them. That was it. And attack the paint. You saw him getting back to those like little dink and dunk assists I love of his to the dunker spot. You found him, that the way he found Max Strus in the fourth quarter, which, by the way, that Max Strus block in the fourth quarter. Holy gosh. I know we got to have a Max Strus conversation too. Don't get me wrong. But Garland just like scoring when needed to, attacking the rim and facilitating, just like, it wasn't even drive and dish. It was just like, get to the paint and decide where we're going from there. And it was beautiful.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Like, the amount of effort these guys were putting in, especially during the rally in the second half and particularly in the fourth quarter, was really incredible. Like, I mean, another guy I really wanted to talk about tonight was Jared Allen. This quest of his to play all 82 games. Again, part of you would rather have him rest a little bit because he gets banged around so much.
He's going to play like 6 minutes Sunday.
Yeah, but you can't knock a guy that wants to come to work every day and play 82 games in the current NBA environment. That said, he can play. He's been playing a few games of just the first half, reducing his minutes, just to kind of take a little bit of wear and tear off of him. But not tonight. Tonight, he went out and played 33 minutes. He had 11 points, 13 rebounds, was playing incredibly hard, chasing down rebounds, chasing down, like loose balls and blocking shots. And he was just, I was so impressed by him to play with that amount of energy in game 81. And he has played in every single one. On the second night of a back-to-back. I know he only played, I think, 15, 16 minutes last night, but it's still the back end of a back-to-back. Incredibly impressive by Jared tonight.
Especially because you're on the road both games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So God only knows what time you left Indiana last night to get to New York tonight.
Right.
So, yeah, man, absolutely. He was awesome. Allen was great. Mobley, once again, awesome tonight. 16 and 10, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a game where he didn't shoot the ball very well. I mean, he got most of his points from the line, but just the defensive Evan Mobley. And this is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time this year the Cavs saw Mitchell Robinson, right? I mean, I don't recall him playing in other games. So
I think it was, and honestly, I mean, there's very few games that Evan's going to shoot 30% from the floor. But I will take 30% from the floor when you're getting the line 14 times.
Same.
And you're grabbing double-digit rebounds. That tells me you're playing incredibly aggressively. You're having a little bit of bad luck with your shooting. But whatever he's doing, if he's getting the line double-digit times in a game, it's a good game for Evan Mobley, because that tells me he's like attacking the baskets with aggressiveness that we want him to.
Yes, absolutely. So those two guys coming through big. And then, like I mentioned, before we get to a couple of the bench guys, Max Strus, just all out effort today. Yeah. And, there's been a lot of Max Strus chatter that I don't like about him. That's not fair to him.
Is anybody talking bad about his hair or something?
I mean, I think we all are jealous of his hair. Let's just be realistic.
Of course,
right?
Of course. Why do you think we wear a hat every episode?
Yeah, right. Exactly. But tonight, 19, 5, and 3, 2 blocks. I already mentioned the 1 block in the fourth quarter, I believe on Josh Hart, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But just maximum effort and hitting huge shots. Garland finding him for open shots. It was pretty awesome, man. It was just such a nice game for him. Seeing him find his consistent shot right before the playoffs like just makes you feel just a little better as time goes on.
For sure, because Max is, no matter what, he is a rotation player for this team. If he's hitting a shot, and he is as much as anybody on this team, he's streaky with his shooting.
Yeah.
If he's hitting a shot, he becomes that much more valuable and a guy you want to play 30 plus minutes. If he's not hitting his shots, he's somebody that maybe could see his minutes reduced a little bit in the playoffs in favor of a couple of guys who might be a little bit better defenders or maybe shooting the ball a little bit better. But if Max is hitting his shot, he becomes that much more valuable for this team. He's always going to be a contributor, but the shot making is what separates him from being a contributor to being like one of the main guys and the fifth starter as he is.
Yeah, man. It's just so nice to see, and going to make things feel so much better as they move forward. So we'll wrap up this game here with the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 guys playing 20 minutes.
I want to talk. I met a shout out Big Rig tonight, the self-proclaimed leader of the Isaac Okoro fan club. So
were you upset by that?
No, because I'm the leader of the Ty Jerome fan club, and I can't call dibs on everybody. So but yeah, no, he thrown a lot of Isaac Okoro stats and I enjoyed every one of them. But Isaac tonight, 15 points, 5 rebounds, really good shooting, super active, all over the floor, played really, really good defense. I mean, he was matching up against he got on Jalen Brunson for a while. He guarded OG Anunoby for a while, and we know OG Anunoby had a huge game against the Cavs last time they played. And we were talking about tonight is this last 10 games or so is the first time Isaac Okoro has looked like himself since early in the season. Because it was less than 20 games in the season that he hurt that shoulder, was out for a long time, came back, still wasn't right, went out again, and then was very rusty by the time they did bring him back around the All-Star break. And it's taken up until about the last 10 games where I thought he looked like the Isaac Okoro we expect him to be, and he was really good again tonight.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing about Isaac Okoro, and I know they lost this Kings game a couple days ago, but the fact that he just goes into the interview with Serena Deeb at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, the only way they can score on us is in transition because they can't score us in the half court. It's in the middle of the game, just flat out that confident, has that much swagger. I'm all for it. I absolutely love it. Craig Porter Jr. again tonight.
I was gonna say I want to ask you a question about Craig Porter Jr. I know you're kicking it to me. I gotta ask you one question. All right.
Yeah.
And I say this only a little bit tongue in cheek. Should Craig Porter Jr. be in the playoff rotation?
He's making a case. He's flat out making a case, man. Skylar and I talked about this last night a little bit. Just you are probably gonna have to cut it down at some point, but you're gonna have such a hard time cutting down that 12 to 9. Mm-hmm. All those guys are making a case. Javonte Green, he's probably out. Jalen Tyson, he's probably out.
Yeah.
But that last spot at that point, Craig Porter Jr., Sam Merrill, Ty Jerome's obviously going to be in there. But it's going to be a really, really interesting to see how Kenny balances this out.
Yeah. And I don't know that he does. He might go at unconventional thinking for the playoffs. Yeah. And just stick with a 10, maybe even 11 man rotation and maybe up particularly Mitchell and Mobley's minutes some, but keep everybody else kind of where they are. And I wouldn't be shocked if he did that, or, you see 10 guys play, but maybe 1 or 2 of them play 8 minutes or less because it's kind of a feel thing to feel out the matchups or something. So I wouldn't be surprised if 10 guys still saw the floor, but the minutes just became a little bit differently distributed.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Anything else that you want to get to on this one before we put a bow on it?
No, just overall, how encouraged I was by tonight. The fact that this team, this is the team that we saw for so much of the year that I used to use the word professional with this team a lot because just the way they would show up on the second game of back-to-back and the last game of a road trip, and that they came to work every day. They didn't take games off. They didn't like take hardly any scheduling losses. Like I was talking about times this year, and the effort that they put in last night and tonight in games where a lot of a lot of teams and players would be having a hot dog on the bench and maybe something in their coffee cup that they have. And the fact that they still cared that much about these games, just so encouraged. And this is why we as fans just love this team, and why there's many people, including you, including me, including Skylar, that are saying this might be your favorite Cavs team ever.
Yeah, man. I mean, 1,000%. So I didn't think the night had to be a super long show by any means. Second game of back-to-back end of the year. But I did want to do a couple fun exercises for Sunday. Instead of previewing a Pacers game that is irrelevant,
right?
Let's just do a couple fun things here. So
all right.
I'm going to do 2 over-unders to start this segment here, Kevin.
Okay.
All right. First over-under, I'm setting at 2. Over-under, how many players in the core 4 play on Sunday?
Well, Allen's going to play.
Right.
Over under. I actually think it might be a push, to be honest. I think Allen's going to play. I wouldn't be surprised if they let Mitchell go play 15 minutes.
Oh, I like that.
Okay. Just so he doesn't not play for 2+ weeks. I mean, if the ankle is truly a problem at all, then obviously sit him. But I wouldn't be surprised if they give Darius and Evan the game off and then let Allen play the first half and maybe let Mitchell play the first half, maybe in a 15 minutes or so, just to kind of get his rhythm back a little bit.
Okay, I like it. All right, over under Jared Allen's minutes on Sunday to make sure he gets the Iron Man. 13.
That's a great number, because I'll go over. And it could very well be under, but I'm going to go over only because what they've been having him play as normal first half minutes and then not bringing him out of the locker room for the second half. And in his normal first half minutes is right at 15. So I could see him definitely just letting him play that first rotation, and he only plays 6 minutes. But I'll go. My pick is a slight over.
I had to do this one because how much I love this conversation, and it just cracks me up every time. Over under Amani Bates shots on Sunday, 6.
Ooh.
6.
You have to tell me, is he playing more than 3 minutes?
He's absolutely playing more than 3 minutes.
That is a hard over.
How quick does he take his first shot? I'm saying 10 seconds.
Yes. I have no doubt about that. I don't know. I mean, you would have thought you'd see him and the other G League guys the last couple of games, like with the last game of the year. He may play them in the second half, but this team is legitimately 12 deep. So if he meaning Kenny Atkinson wants to get everyone at least a little bit of run to stay in rhythm, you might not see those guys until last part of the fourth quarter.
I still think he might take 6 shots if he plays.
Yeah, I mean it's still a decent bet.
Yeah. Oh man, and I will love all 6 shots.
Yeah,
and probably more. All right. Do you have a best guess on what you think the starting 5 looks like on Sunday?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I'll go with the easy one. J.A. will be starting. Like I said, I'll stick with it. I'll say Mitchell's going to start. I'll give it to. All right. No, I'm not going to overthink this. I'm just going to say Strus, Wade, Allen, Mitchell, Jerome.
Okay.
I think they all play, but most of them are. I think he's going to treat it very similar to what he did the last night, where he basically treats it as a preseason game. He lets guys come in, gets reps, but then by middle of the third quarter, he starts pulling all of the guys and lets kind of the more end of the bench rotation play out the last 18 minutes or so of the game.
I like it. You have any fun Cavs props bets for the final regular season game you want to throw out there?
I would love nothing more, just because of all the frustration I've had around it. let Ty Jerome go play 35 minutes and score 40 points on Sunday.
Let's do it. Just solidify sixth man of the year on the final
Yeah.
night of the year.
Yeah, it's been a very big frustration for me that he isn't getting more seriously considered, and I think it's kind of disappointing for the writer, the voters who are supposed to be the most knowledgeable NBA people, if they're just looking at the traditional surface level stats, points per game, rebounds, assists, and not looking at the efficiency numbers and the impact on winning and all of those kind of things. Like it's just disappointing that if he doesn't not only win it, but there's talk he might not even end up in the top 3. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah. The Cavs legitimately have 3 guys, counting Kenny Atkinson, who should be winning awards this year. And I would not be surprised if none of them win. Now, Kenny's probably locked up coach of the year.
I don't know. I don't know. I thought that it went the betting has slid that to, I mean, JB has kind of been the number 2 for a long time, but Ime Udoka has been making a late run for that coach of the year. And I don't think it's as foregone a conclusion as it was. I still think he's the favorite, Kenny being to win, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion we thought it was a few weeks ago.
Ooh, if I had a ballot and I had to go top 4, I'd probably go those 3 that you mentioned, and I think I would throw JJ in there because I think JJ had a lot of crazy stuff that happened this year they had to deal with, including personal stuff and professional stuff, and they're going to have home court advantage in the playoffs.
It's not a bad call at all for me. I would go those 3, and then I would go Mark Dagnall from the Thunder.
That's fair. He does have like 14 losses.
Yeah. I understand he won it last year, and it's very, very, I guess, common to not go with the guy who won it last year. But the fact that team has gotten even better, and they honestly they've faced a lot of injuries. They've had more injuries than the Cavs had and everything.
Yeah.
And to still be the runaway number 1 seed in the tougher of the 2 conferences. I think
pretty impressive.
He should be on that ballot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good ballot, man. Like all this time all we've heard all these years is NBA coaching doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And you can name 6 legit guys who are really good coaches right now.
Yeah.
The 5 we just talked about and Steve Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
Give all those guys credit. I know there are some bad NBA coaches for sure. There are some really bad ones out there. But there are 6 or 7 guys that it's like, if I had an opportunity to coach my team, I would jump at the bit. And I don't know, I think I might throw Mazzulla in there. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I think he's pretty darn good as a coach, honestly. And look, everyone has never heard me say a nice thing about the Boston Celtics. So for me to say that.
Yeah, no, it's, I get it. I think Second Row Joe has really come into his own. And if they don't know, like it was from the Bill Simmons podcast, they called him Second Row Joe because before he was head coach, he was actually one of the lower end assistants that actually sat in the second row behind the bench. Yeah. So they called him Second Row Joe, but he's developed into a really, really good coach for sure.
Yeah. I saw NBA.com put out their MVP ladder today and Mitchell was 5th, which is about right. I don't think I don't have an issue with that. I don't think he'll win it. I do think, I don't know, the SGA Jokic is one of the better MVP races we've ever had.
100%.
It's been really fun. Like, I'm not a huge Jokic fan, but that's not saying that I don't acknowledge how awesome he is at basketball. He's just not my cup of tea because he's not entertaining and flashy, and that's not his fault. Where SGA is like DeMar DeRozan times 10 as far as like mid-range phenomenon. Like, and I love DeMar DeRozan, so for me to say that, like, that's high praise. It's a great race, and I think Mitchell, I'm really glad that even though Mitchell's not going to win it by any means necessarily, he's probably going to get a couple second, third place votes. But he might get third place votes, second place votes. It's going to be pretty hard. But it's awesome to see that he's considered like above LeBron, who was 6th on the MVP ladder on there on NBA.com.
No, it's awesome. Mitchell is getting a lot of recognition that maybe he deserved previously in his career, frankly, because he's continued to be very good and also and then is decided he was willing to kind of sacrifice statistics to kind of be a better leader of a really great team. So I think it's really nice to see him get awarded for being selfless, which is not something you always see in professional sports.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, hey man, I don't know how much more we have to dive into as we're like wrapping up the regular season here. Is there anything you want to touch on before we roll out of here?
No, I was just gonna say, let everybody know we'll do a quick podcast Sunday. Probably not a super exciting game to post, do a post game show for, but that we didn't think tonight would either. And then we're gonna come up with some stuff to do over the week that the Cavs are gonna have off. I think we're gonna do a special pod where we look back at like kind of the regular season, a lot of highlights, kind of try and do it in a fun way. And then I think Tim, you had the idea we'll do a podcast right after the playing games are done and kind of about whoever it is the Cavs are going to match up against. So we'll do a quick one on Sunday, but we are not going to take the week off like the Cavs do. We'll get out some content and get all geared up for the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep an eye out for that. We'll make sure we keep that posted on all our socials as well. Hey, if you're checking us out for the first time, I know Kev did some nice advertising tonight with the Land. Also, once again, I want to shout out the Land for being such cool dudes and having a really fun atmosphere. I'm going to join for a playoff game for sure. I'm for sure going to join for a playoff game and have a good time. So give them a shout out. If you're checking us out on your podcast app of choice for the first time, please give us a nice solid follow. If you are a long-time listener throughout the season, like Moondog talked about, please leave a review and tell us how much you love us. If it's not 5-star, we don't want it. You can DM us your criticisms. We'll accept those. But on behalf of Kevin Lynch, on behalf of Skylar Webker, I'm Tim Daniel. Thank you guys so much as we wrap up the first regular season block shot to stop. We'll see you on Sunday. And of course,
go Cavs.